I'm grateful to be here, and I know that you are too. Everybody wakes up hoping to have a good day. And I know that when you came here, when you decided you'll be at TEDx today, you wanted to have a good day, to chill out a little. And then what happens when there's a shaking? When there's a twist? When that very wonderful day begins to turn sour due to one problem or the other? And it's worse when the problem is something you cannot help. It's worse when it's something you didn't cause. It's not of your own making. And it's much worse when it puts a twist to your life for good. You know, we don't have all the powers to decide what comes to us, but we always have the power to decide our reaction to what comes to us. You don't choose a problem. It's not your choice, but you always have the choice to decide your reaction to that problem. So I was born very normal, went through nursery school very normal, went through primary school very normal, attended secondary school very normal. And few days after I finished secondary school, that twist came. Like a normal sickness. Of course, in tropical Africa, it's always malaria. So after treating malaria and it didn't get better, what then happens? They add typhoid to it. That's tropical Africa to you. And then after malaria and typhoid has not solved the problem, we now start looking for the experts. And before you know it, the experts were speaking something that I couldn't understand. I understand a lot of languages, but this particular one, I couldn't understand it. They said I had a disc edema. And what that simply means is that there was water retaining in my brain. And that was what was causing banging headache. And not only banging headache, my eyes were bulging out, and I was having double, triple vision. And so some medication was administered, and we thought we had seen the end of it, just for the whole drama to repeat after 2 years. And this time around came with other complications, massive seizures, paralysis of some parts of my body, and I knew that I was sick. And it came at a point when I was preparing for what we call the year abroad program. For those who study languages, you know that at your third year, you need to go for the linguistic immersion program. So I had to miss that 1 year. I had to attend to my health. I went to UNTH, and UNTH was so convinced that I had a tumor. And I had to do an MRI in those good old days, about 20, 21 years ago. To get an MRI done, you had to go to National Hospital in Abuja. And by the time I went to Abuja, all hell let loose. I was having so many complications. And let me just inform you that the scan revealed nothing. It was done twice, it revealed nothing. So it was that my brain was imagining a tumor and was reacting in that line. It's called pseudotumor cerebral. So we knew we had burnt our options here in Nigeria. We headed for the UK. I was able to go to at least 7 hospitals in the UK, and I received nothing. Nothing. But something happened in the UK, which is nothing short of a miracle. Because by the time I went to the UK, I was blind, stone blind, not partial sighted, completely blind. But there, after I had done all the tests, repeated the MRI, did a lot of scans, and I was told that I would not see again. I would live the rest of my life as a blind woman. And I was advised to go to a place called RNIB. RNIB stands for Royal National Institute for the Blind. And there I was to be trained on how to move on with life as a blind girl. While I was there, I recovered a little bit of my sight. So I went back to the hospital and said, I've discovered that I can see. And that was when I realized that a miracle has just happened in my life, because even the doctors could not and still cannot explain how that little sight came back. 3 unanswered questions. What went wrong with the sight? What started this edema? Secondly, how did it recover? Even if it's just small recovery, how did that small come back? The third is, why did the recovery stop? Why just this little recovery, and why did it just come and go? Well, I will always say we'll understand it when we get to the other side of eternity. But I came back partial sighted, some will say legally blind, and I have had to live with that for over 20 years. And I had to go back to school. I could not start begging by the road. Even my parents would not allow that. I had the option of locking myself in and not moving on, but no. I went back to school, and in the year 2005, I graduated, and surprisingly, that year, I was the best graduating student in my department. And so I had to do NYSC. I came to Enugu here, precisely Alliance Française, and did the 1 year. And when I was leaving, my director called me. And he said, Alliance Française wants to open a branch in Nsukka, and we would need someone to manage that. If you are interested, we will not advertise the job, we will give that to you. But if you are not interested in the job, then we can throw it open. So I said, well, I am interested in the job. So I took that job. But before I did, I had to talk to my dad. I said, what do I do? See the discussion I had with this man. He said, tell him to put that discussion in writing. So I think I'm one of the first people that I know that didn't apply for a job, that the job applied for me. They had to write me to say, is this what you want? This is what we can offer. And after 2 years, I joined the services of UNN. I became a graduate assistant and grew from there. I had to do my master's in translation. I had to do a PhD in translation. And 2 years ago, I was made an associate professor of translation. All that without your eyes, yes. But that was because I decided. In everything, you take a decision. You take a decision that this problem will not overwhelm me. I will overwhelm the problem. That's the first step in succeeding with physical challenge. You must decide to challenge your challenge. You must decide to win, because you could also decide to lose, and the society will be sympathetic towards you. After all, she's blind. But you can take the decision to say, I won't do this. Another thing that can make one succeed, not just with physical challenge, but with any problem in life. It has been said here, and I'll say that over and over again, and that is what? Networking. I cannot tell you the extent networking has done for me. And when I mean network, I mean also networking with people who have the same challenge with you. Moving with blind people. I have learned the app I use in my laptop today was installed by a blind student. I learned how to use the laptop as a blind person, being taught by another blind person. So you work with other people who have the problems that you have. They tell you how they have overcome it, and then you are also better off to overcome yours. And above all, there's also what? Tenacity. You must decide that is either I succeed or I succeed. I did not succeed without problem. Most people feel that people with disability attract pity. I never attracted any pity. On my own, on the other hand, I attracted what I'll call the opposite of pity. I have had a professor who came to me. He didn't send someone to tell me. He said, you have already finished your master's. It is greedy of you to want to go and do a PhD again. Go and rest with the one you have done. In fact, I always say that the discussion I had with that man is one of the reasons why I did the PhD in UNN. Because I was about to go to another university. I said, no, if I go somewhere else, this man will think he has successfully chased me away. So I need to stay here so that he will be seeing me. And I stayed there. During my doctorate degree, I went through 3 supervisors. It did not just come as smooth as people think it will come. But the last supervisor, I actually approached him through his wife. And after talking to the wife spoke to him and he said, we can do this. I'll be patient with you. Work at your own pace. And on that fateful day, February 2018, I defended the PhD, and it was history. So you must decide that tenacity that you will stay there. You will stay in there. And every problem that one gets, instead of seeing it as a problem, see it as an opportunity to solve a problem. I see the challenge I had as an opportunity to solve the problem of other students with physical challenge. UNN is home to over 100 blind students. And I see myself as having had this challenge so that they can have someone to look up to. And I see myself as one who is sent to encourage them and to bring them up, because it's not easy to work with blind people. And when someone that is sighted wants to talk to blind people, most times they don't listen. They will not tell you they are not listening, no. But the truth is that they are not listening to you, because they say you have not been in our shoes. But now I have been in the shoes, and I can tell you that these shoes, you can actually expand it and make it fit very well. And if I have expanded it and I have made it fit, now come on, expand yours, let it fit too. We will make it. Being visually impaired, I see it as somehow having some plus, not just being a minus. When I was promoted, somebody told me, I did not know you had this amount of publications. I said, I don't go anywhere. I'm always in one place. So instead of sitting in one place and just eating, why don't I just be on my laptop and do some research and publish? So you see that that has now become a plus. And instead of seeing it as a minus, above all, any condition you see yourself, the thing that is important is how you view yourself, not really how others view you. My principal in secondary school will say, if you don't say you are, nobody will say thou art. If it's more important how you view yourself, if I had seen myself as disadvantaged, disabled, not being able to continue with education, I could have been a big mess. But I just saw myself as being differently enabled. And instead of crying over the loss of my sight, it now became a thing of, what can we do? I have learned how to use a lot of apps, which I know I would never have learned if I had full sight. I have had opportunities to speak, which I know I couldn't have had if I had full sight. And I have developed such a wonderful and sharp memory, which I may not have sharpened if I had full sight. But all this is because I refuse to see myself as disadvantaged. So you must be careful how you see yourself. It's very important to be very careful how you see yourself. I have 3 children today, and somebody will always say, how do you manage your home? It's by viewing myself as a very normal mother. Yes, different from the regular mothers. There's a question people always ask me. Were you blind before you got married? I said, yes. Say, is your husband also visually impaired? The answer is no. So how come he decided to marry a disabled woman? I said, but he's still alive. He's in the best position to answer that question. But I could have seen myself as disadvantaged, and so disadvantaged that I wouldn't even accept to get married, or I would just accept to marry anybody out of gratitude. But that is not it. That is far from being it. You are what you see yourself. I would like to just end with saying this. I have said it before, but I want to emphasize it. Most times you don't have a hand in what comes to you. You hardly get to choose. Even thank God for leaders in Nigeria, but really being sincere in this Nigeria, most times we hardly get to choose our leaders. But you hardly get to choose the circumstances you find yourself in. But you always have that choice to choose your reaction to those circumstances. And we have to be careful, we have to be intentional, we have to be mindful in choosing our reactions to the problems that we face. Thank you so much.